I'm here to start the backlash against the X100VI and or the X100V. Not really the backlash against the camera because I don't have any ill feelings towards Fujifilm or that camera in particular, more so against the cringe-worthy hype bubble probably, that this camera has engendered here on YouTube. But is there a danger in this coveted thing, namely the X100V and possibly the X100VI, becoming uncoveted because of all of the overcoverage of the camera? I think it's possible, but maybe the people that made this camera suddenly insanely sought after, insanely popular aren't the kind of people who are watching middle-aged YouTubers talk about it. So I don't know, carry on, I suppose. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Fujifilm makes this line of cameras called the X100 series. I think it first came out around 2010. The fifth iteration with the V moniker or the V designation came out, I think, in 2020. Obviously, these cameras were somewhat successful. I mean, Fujifilm had released 5 versions of them, but it wasn't something that was this phenomenon until a TikTok. This lady made this TikTok talking about how she loved it and how she made all her content with it, and I guess that's what propelled the insane popularity of this camera in like 2022, 2023. So it had already been out for a few years in relative anonymity, and now you want one. Possibly it has something to do with the skyrocketing cost of 35mm film. A lot of kids these days are trying to get into shooting film, but prices of film got really high. Maybe the Fujifilm X100V was seen as an alternative because it looks like a film camera, and then also Fujifilm has film emulations built into the camera, so you can shoot JPEGs or HEIFs or HEIFs or whatever, and it's sort of like shooting film, I guess. So maybe those two things in conjunction led to the massive popularity of the X100V, and Fujifilm couldn't keep up with orders, and then there was resellers and scalpers, and the price of it was double what it was actually supposed to be for a long time. Nobody could get their hands on one. And then Fujifilm has an update, the X100VI or the VI, whatever. Fujifilm opened up a new factory in China to try to keep up with demand of this camera. If it becomes easier to obtain and there's no longer this sort of like rarity aspect to it, I wonder if it's going to maintain that level of desirability. I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. I wish Fujifilm all the success in the world. I quite like Fujifilm. I'm shooting on their camera right now, not the X100, by the way. What I am reacting to is just the massive hype. And again, because like this camera was just sort of like relatively anonymous for a long time. Only people who were really into it were using it and talking about it. But now everybody's talking about it and everybody's making videos about it. Everybody's just cashing in, and I get it. People are trying to make money. I try to make money on YouTube. Obviously don't make very much money, but I do make decisions from time to time based on what I think is going to get views. But I always try to maintain some level of personal interest in what it is that I'm talking about, and not just covering things just because it's trendy. What also annoys me is that I don't really see much coverage from a lot of the bandwagoners of what this camera actually is and what makes it different from any other run-of-the-mill Fujifilm camera or digital camera for that matter. I thought maybe it was because it was a digital rangefinder camera, and I honestly had no idea what a rangefinder camera is, so I Googled it, and it's not actually a digital rangefinder. It's maybe a faux rangefinder with some sort of superficial characteristics of a rangefinder, but none of the actual mechanical functionality of a rangefinder camera. It's just a point and shoot. So that's not it. A lot of it comes down to sort of subjective and maybe sort of wishy-washy language about it being simple and something that you're going to take with you because it's compact and because it forces you to use only one lens. Obviously, it's not an interchangeable lens camera. And all of that is maybe true for some people, but I think what it also comes down to, or maybe more what it comes down to, is that it's trendy. And it's trendy, I think, because it looks cool. It looks like a film camera. It has dials on it. It has a silver and black body. Is capitalizing on the resurgence of interest in film and also the confluence of factors, economic factors that are driving up or have driven up the price of film. When you see all these people on YouTube talking about it, like, oh, I finally got the X100V, what is it that makes this camera special? It really is a lot of style over substance, I think. If it were a true rangefinder, then I could understand the interest in it and the hype in it, because it would be something that was actually different, that operated differently than any other digital camera on the market. But it's not. So it comes down to hype, it comes down to rarity, and style over substance, I think. But it just goes to show that a lot of people were getting into this based on the sort of like mood of, the communal urge to buy this thing that had become desirable for this confluence of reasons. If your exposure to that camera came about because of all of the interest in it, and you looked at it and thought, hey, that looks cool, I would like to get into that. That looks like it's something that I would enjoy. Great, that's amazing. But if you are just making content about it because you want to capitalize on the hype, YouTube has become almost like in certain niches, like in this camera, video, filmmaking niche, in all its various forms, is becoming sort of just like a home shopping network. And I really started thinking about this around Black Friday, when people were making videos about like, this is the stuff that you need to buy on Black Friday. And, so we're just basically making content so that we can sell, that we can make money through affiliate links. YouTube can literally be anything still, but it's become so commercialized. I just think there's a risk of a backlash, like I'm feeling a little burnt out. Obviously there's a whole lot of people, big creators it was that thing a few months ago where everybody's quitting YouTube. I think that this commercialization of it is definitely playing into that. When you have everybody jumping on to capitalize on the hype of a certain thing, you obviously risk killing that, whatever it was that made that thing special for the time, because now it's not special anymore because everybody's jumping into it. There are alternatives, by the way, to the X100. You've probably seen a lot of Ricoh GR3 videos in the last year because of the impossibility of finding the X100V. Canon makes something called the G7X3, which is a similar style of camera. It doesn't have the style of the X100V, but similar functionality. Obviously, there's the Leica Q2, which is insanely expensive, but again, similar. And Fujifilm also makes the X Pro series, which is a rangefinder style camera with an interchangeable lens, but it's much more expensive for the body than the X100 series, which of course then you have to add a lens to. But even if you just bought like an XS20 or an XS10, which is a tiny little interchangeable lens camera, and then like a pancake 23mm, 16mm or whatever, you'd have something that's very, very similar to an X100, minus the optical viewfinder aspect of it. But in terms of the film simulations, in terms of the overall picture quality, the size even, it would be very similar. So let me know. I don't know, just me talking. Didn't really have anything to make a video about, so I just thought I would rant a little bit on YouTube, because it's YouTube and you can do you. That was dumb.